Good morning and welcome to episode 40 of Mystery, Murder, and Magic. Can't believe we're already on episode 40. We actually have over 100. I think it was like 113 episodes with all like the mini shows, the bonus episodes, but this is the 40th of Mystery, Murder, and Magic. And speaking of milestones, when I checked our stats just before recording today, we were at just over 8,300 downloads. And that blows my mind. I swear I'll never get to that point that I'll look at our stats and not be like, oh my God. It's just humbling to say the least. Okay, so today we're talking about the last victim in the Morris murders. His name is Edward Evans. And I just want to say that last week, I don't feel like I did my best when I did the episode on Leslie Ann Downey. I think that after being pulled in mentally and like my heart and soul was pulled into like the Gabby Petito case, and so far the outcome of it, my energy just deflated. And I'm not talking about like my get up and go. It was just like my spiritual energy, if that makes sense. But I just didn't have it in me to go into a lot of detail about like the horrific death of a precious little 10-year-old girl. And I feel like I slighted you guys a little, and I'm planning on making it up when we put it all together next week and talk about Myra, Hindley, and Brady, like their trial and what we know about them since their trials. Alright, well, enough of me jibber-jabber rambling. Let's go ahead and get episode 40 started.
Mystery, murder, and magic, heroes, and Alice.
Sorry if that intro kind of scared y'all there. It made me jump too, and I'm the one that hit the play button. But anyway, okay. So Edward Evans, the one thing that makes him different from most, or from really all of the other victims of Myra and Ian, was that he was the oldest of them. He was 17 years old. So, I mean, he was nearly an adult when all the rest were children. But he was from Hardwick, which I believe is somewhere in the Manchester area. But anyway, Ian found him inside the Manchester Central Railway Station. He had went in looking for a victim while Myra sat in the car, of course. When Ian brought Edward out to the car, he introduced Myra as his sister. Now, I couldn't find a specific reason for that, but oh well. Well, from the station, the three drove to Ian and Myra's place on Wattlebrook, and soon the three were getting to know each other over a bottle of wine. Ian sent Myra to pick her brother up, or not her brother, but her brother-in-law. His name is David Smith, and Ian had been becoming like chummy with Smith over the past year, but Myra was kind of against that because she felt like it was putting them at risk of being caught by the police. Well, when Hindley and Smith arrived back at the house on Wattlebrook, she told Smith to wait until she gave the signal for him to come inside. Well, when he was given the signal, which was a flash of a light, he knocked on the front door, and Ian answered the door and asked him if he was there for the miniature wine bottles. And I guess that was just some type of ruse, Anyway, he told Smith to wait in the kitchen while he collected those bottles. Well, while Smith was waiting, he heard this horrible, blood-curdling scream. And the screams continued. And then he heard Myra yell, "Dave, help him!" And when he went into the living room, he saw this young guy, which was Edward, laying half on the couch and half on the floor, and he was still screaming, and Brady was standing over him kind of like straddling him, but he was standing over him with a hatchet in his hand. And he struck Edward on the left side of the head with the hatchet, and Smith said that it was like a really hard blow. After that, Brady struck Edward with an electrical cord, and somehow in the midst of all that, Brady sprained his ankle, and because of that, and the fact that Edward was too heavy for Smith to carry alone, they wrapped Edward's body in plastic and they put it in one of the spare rooms. Well, the next morning, Smith was supposed to return with a baby pram so they could take Edward's body from the house to the car, and from there they were going to drive out to the moors to dispose of Edward's body. Well, it was 3 o'clock that morning when Smith got back home, and once he was there, he asked his wife, which was Myra's sister, to make him a cup of tea. Well, after he drank the tea, he vomited, and then he told his wife what he had witnessed, and I'm sure that it was probably more than enough to make you vomit. But anyway, once it was daylight, he walked to a nearby phone box and he called the police, and he was so afraid that Ian would come back for him that he armed himself with a screwdriver and a bread knife. Now, Superintendent Bob Talbot and a detective sergeant went to the Wartlebrook house. Now, Talbot disguised himself with he was dressed in a bread delivery man's uniform, and he went around to the back door of the house. Well, when he knocked, Myra was the one to answer, and he asked her if her husband was home, but Myra said she wasn't married and there wasn't a man there. So Talbot identified himself, and Myra let him in. But when they reached the living room, Ian was laying there, I guess, resting that ankle that he had sprained on a divan. Now, Talbot told him that he was investigating an act of violence involving guns. Well, Myra tells him that nothing had happened there, and then she let him look around the house. Well, he reached that spare bedroom, and the door was locked. Well, Myra told him that the key was at her workplace, and Talbot offered to give her a ride there so that she could get the key. But Ian told her, just give him the key. Well, when the police returned to the living room, they placed Brady under arrest for the suspicion of murder. And as Brady is getting dressed, he said, "Eddie and I had a row, and the situation got out of hand." Now, that's where we're going to end it for today's episode, because next week, on the final episode in this series, we're going to tie it all together and call it done. Now, I know this was another short one, but I promise y'all, on the season finale, or the series finale, it's going to make sense. I want you guys to have a good week. Don't forget to come back Wednesday for an all-new episode of the Midweek Mini, Friday night for What the Friday, and Saturday for the Weekend Weird Files.